Everyone, I'm Kay Munoz. I am the community convener in Interval House. So that I do a lot of outreach and community education on DV. So and I also provide any resources, and if there are any community events, I attend for tabling events. I bring in like pamphlets, resources, and also like shoe cards. Shoe cards were given the name because women would actually tear it off of informational cards and put it into their shoes. So then that way their partners would not find them. So it was like for a safety precaution, and that we still give those out. We also have tear offs that we can place into bathrooms. So if there is some that you guys would like, please let Rachel know or myself. I will put my information at the end in the chat. So then that way you all can have access to any information that you guys may need, and I could either bring it to you or we could organize that with Rachel as well. So thank you all so much. I'm going to share my screen now, Rachel. So just bear with me.
Sure.
So I just want to give a little brief introduction as to who is Interval House, what do we do, when did we start? So in 1976, there was a rise in DV cases in the state of Connecticut, and a lot of survivors were calling into the rape hotlines. So there were a few community members that started noticing this pattern, and they wanted to provide actual resources to women. So Asylum Hill Congregational Church from Hartford, a support group of women victims in Manchester, and other community members around the area gathered together, and they essentially started doing the work that Interval House was doing. So by 1977, Interval House was created, and since then we have become a service center where we provide 24-hour hotline operators, as well as serving 24 towns. So that includes Manchester. And within the year, we do serve at least, if not more, 6,500 people in the community. So domestic violence and intimate partner abuse. Intimate partner abuse is a pattern of abusive behavior in an intimate relationship where one partner tries to control and dominate the other. Abusive behavior takes many forms and leaves the victim feeling scared, confused, dependent, and insecure. And there are multiple types of abuse. There's physical abuse, which we see in is hitting, pushing, shoving, punching, holding down, strangling, choking, inflicting bruises, welts and lacerations, dragging or pulling by the hair. Another is emotional or psychological abuse, which is extreme jealousy and possessiveness, threatening acts of violence, constant criticizing, insulting, and belittling. We also have sexual abuse, so coercing a victim to have sex, making a victim watch pornography with them, knowingly transmitting STIs, using date rape drugs, threatening to sexually assault children. It's another form as well. Financial abuse, which is like withholding money, tracking the victim's money, limiting access to bank accounts or ATM cards, and preventing the victim from working or earning. There's also technological abuse with GPS tracking, threatening texts and emails, spoofing. And what spoofing is that a person basically goes online. There's an actual website called Spoof, and they get a phone number and they start calling the victim from that phone number. Facebook and social media, spyware, And people who may be experiencing abuse may come off as afraid or anxious just to please their partner, seem afraid, sorry, and or anxious to please their partner. They go along with everything that their partner says and does. They check in often with their partner to report where they are. So that could mean like constantly picking up the phone or constantly texting. They receive frequent harassing phone calls, as mentioned, from their partner. They talk about their partner's temper or jealousy or possessiveness. And people who may be abused also frequently miss school or social occasions without explanation. They have difficulty making decisions, or they may show poor self-confidence. They may be restricted from seeing family or friends, and they rarely go out in public without their partner. So what are abuser tactics? There's isolation. So that could be, why do you want to see your family every week? Right? There is intimidation, making a partner afraid by using looks, actions, or gestures. Coercion and threats. They may say, I will kill myself if you leave. Damaging partners' relationships, telling people that the partner is crazy, using technology to send negative messages to friends. They may even minimize or deny and blame, saying that I didn't hit you that hard, you bruise easily, or I wouldn't have hit you if you hadn't been smiling at that person. And lastly, being possessive and jealous. You are mine and will always be mine. Stalking is another form of abuse. Stalking, of course, is a conduct directed at a specific person that would cause a reasonable person to feel fear. Stalking is serious and it's often violent and can escalate over time. So, progression of stalking and abuse. It may be subtle when it begins. It starts by like criticizing, humiliating, threatening, intimidating, and it may escalate to violence, destroying property, pushing, shoving, slapping, punching, sexual assault. It can become life-threatening with choking or the use of weapons. And the complexities of DV. There are many nuances to domestic violence. It's not a single incident. There are a series of events along the continuum. It is not only physical abuse, as we have already heard. During the course of a violent relationship, victims will negotiate and will accommodate abusive partners to stay safe. And leaving may not end the danger in the relationship. Perpetrators may take more extreme actions at the time of separation. It is said in DV that leaving is the most dangerous time. So we always tend to try to let people know that, when someone with DV experiencing DV comes to you, to not just say to leave, because it's dangerous and it's life-threatening. In the state of Connecticut, assaulting, threatening, or stalking is a crime. And also, just a few LGBTQIA facts. Trans women are 3 times more likely to be stalked. They experience financial abuse and or endure sexual harassment than individuals who do not identify as transgender. 43.8% of lesbian women and 61.1% of bisexual women have experienced rape, physical abuse, and or stalking by a partner, compared to the heterosexual women, which is 35%. And 26% of gay men and more than 37% of bisexual men have experienced rape, physical abuse, stalking by an intimate partner as well, compared to the 29% of heterosexual men. And lastly, survivors who were of the Latin or Latinx community were 2 times more likely to report experiencing violence by a former ex-partner compared to non-Latinx or Latin survivors. So in the city of Bloomfield is the fifth in DV cases that we have identified. In the fiscal year of 2021 to 2022, there have been 135 individuals who have called in, and with 266 contacts. And what the contacts means is how many times a person on the hotline has had to call back the person, or the person has called them back. And all that is in discussions of counseling and support sessions, victim advocacy, safety planning, information, and referrals to other agencies. So that all is taking place on our hotlines. But I will move on to the East Granby, Doreen. As some of us may know, back in August 28th of this year, Doreen is an East Granby librarian, and she was a director in that library. She had been a director for the library for about 4 years, and her husband had shot Doreen and had also shot himself. So no one in the community really knew that she was experiencing DV. One of the biggest things that I will mention is that once a weapon is involved, it does escalate the situation, right? Especially when you're calling into 911, it escalates it. And the police will do a lethality assessment and if the victim checks out the questions that they're asking, they will instantly report that, and also keep a record of that and take the abusive partner in, right? In addition to that, it is the state that ends up charging the abuser, not the victim. The victim goes in as a witness. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case with Doreen. Doreen was actually the 9th victim at the time with suffering of intimate partner violence. The 8th person before her was actually Caroline Ashworth. She was 21 years old, and she had a 59-year-old partner who was a dentist, and he had also taken her life and his at the time. So Doreen's essentially was the second case within East Granby, unfortunately. And when we work with police officers, they are working closely with our court advocates who show up with the victims of DV. So, supporting someone experiencing abuse. First, we start with a conversation when you have time to listen and respond. Use the following openings. I'm worried about you, or are you afraid, or how can I help? What is it like for you? Victims want you to listen and validate their feelings and their concerns. And victims also need support. Support the victim's decisions, even if you don't agree. They know their situation best. So supporting someone, we have to learn about domestic violence, refer victims to Interval House, and keep the hotline number. If you would like a moment to write it down, you can keep it in your phone for them, or you can slide it on a piece of paper for the individual. Encourage the victim to either call or text when it is safe to talk. I also have a Spanish hotline, and I can give that to you all towards the end, and I also have the number repeated again. So our Interval Houses services, there's a 24-hour hotline once again, and we also have a Spanish hotline as well. We do emergency sheltering, safety planning, and counseling. We partner with law enforcement, as mentioned. We have information and referrals. We have court and legal advocacy, support groups, children's programming, and community education and outreach. And what can you do to help Interval House. You can give gift cards to donate gift cards to us, do a gift card drive. A lot of the survivors of DV have been controlled so much so, especially in their finances, that this brings control back into their life and in their own lives. And it's also easier for our court advocates to slip it into the individual's hands, so then that way they can get their needs. We also have safe house supplies that we would need to assist the women to have and to keep the shelter going. We have an Amazon wish list. I can also put that in the chat. And also financial contributions are good. We do have a PO box that you can send it to. So just in case, if there's any other ways you would like to contribute. And we also have an upcoming event. We have 2 upcoming events. One is on the 23rd at 9 a.m. It is a walk. It's the Jennifer Farber Dulos Memorial Walk to End DV at Dunkin' Donuts Park. And again, that's at 9 a.m. This is a family-friendly event. And also pet-friendly event. Anyone can come in to show support to people they may know or to show or honor themselves. We typically have really good turnout, and we would love to see you all there. We also have, just in case if we miss you, on November 3rd, our Breakfast with Champions on November 3rd at 8 a.m. at the Riverview in Simsbury. This is a free event, and if you would like to donate anything, it's donate whatever you feel is meaningful to you. And Interval House is here saving lives and giving a voice and changing the future. And we hope to see you at any of our events, and we hope that we can partner in any way together. And I'm here for questions.